What's up, my friends? Welcome to New View Tech Review. My name is David Gelly, and today we are reviewing the LG V50. So let's get to it. The LG V50 stands 6.25 inches tall, 2.98 inches wide, 8.3 millimeters thick, and weighs 6.46 ounces. Gorilla Glass 5 covers the front of the phone, while Gorilla Glass 6 covers the back. On the right side sits the power button, and on the left, the volume and Google Assistant buttons.
The V50 also has a water and dust resistance rating of IP68.
And carries over the shock-resistant military 810G certification that we've seen on previous variants. On the back, we find a fingerprint scanner, which seems to be a bit slow when compared to other flagships. It's not a big deal, but worth noting in my opinion. On the bottom sits a Type-C port along with a headphone jack. And as far as I'm aware of, the V50 only comes in one color, Aurora Black. The V50 sports a 6.4-inch QHD Plus OLED display with a PPI of 538. Colors seem nice and balanced, and text looks clean and sharp. On the top, we find a notch housing the front-facing cameras, which most flagships have adopted at this point. But since I use an iPhone X as my daily driver, notches don't really bother me, though I know it can drive some people insane. So if that's the case for you, then I'd maybe just skip this one. And unfortunately, as I was afraid of when I unboxed the V50, the screen is pretty dim even at full brightness as compared to most other phones out there. It's not horrible, but it definitely doesn't perform well in direct sunlight. So just keep that in mind. Powering the V50 is Qualcomm's 855 CPU, 6GB of RAM, and Android Pie 9.0 with LG's UX 8.0 skin. Battery size has gone up from 3,300 mAh on the V40 to 4,000 on this year's model. LG even included a heat pipe cooling system to help dissipate any heat that the phone might emit. This will be great for keeping the V50 at a stable temperature while playing graphic-intensive games. As for storage, at the base model, you get 128GB of onboard storage, with 103 of that actually being usable. You might want to slim down that UX skin there, LG. Yikes. Of course, if that isn't enough storage for you, you can always expand that 128GB to 2TB with an SD card. 5G is present on the V50, which LG is using as a big selling point, but this is something that I didn't really have the opportunity to test out since it's still kind of hard to come by. And unfortunately, LG's fast charging was pretty disappointing here on the V50. But as long as you have a wireless charging station by your desk at work, then that shouldn't even be an issue for you. On the back, we have a triple camera setup. The far left being a 12-megapixel telephoto zoom lens with an aperture of f2.4, the middle being a 16-megapixel super wide-angle lens with an f1.9 aperture, and on the far right, a standard 12-megapixel lens with an aperture of f1.5. Flipping to the front, we find two sensors. On the left, we have a 5-megapixel f2.2 wide-angle lens, and on the right, an 8-megapixel f1.9 standard lens. Video can be recorded at 720p at 240 frames per second for slow motion, all the way up to 4K at 60 frames per second. Now here are a few quick photo and video samples I recorded on the V50 using default settings. And last but definitely not least, let's shift our focus to audio. As I mentioned earlier, the V50 sports a headphone jack on the bottom. LG includes a 32-bit hi-fi quad DAC for when you're listening to music or watching videos with wired headphones. And if you're not familiar with what a DAC is, it's basically just a way to make your music sound significantly better when using headphones. So to say that this is just a simple headphone jack would be a massive understatement and a slap in the face to audiophiles across the globe. As for the external speakers, well, how do I say this? They're just awful. The stereo speakers are pretty loud, coming in at 92 decibels, but the EQ levels seem to lean heavily towards the highs. They're just muddy, they're thin sounding, and just overall not pleasing to the ears. I think you get the idea. That's so bad. I'm sorry guys, it's low-hanging fruit. I had to do it. Alright ladies and gents, that's all I had for you today. Make sure you click one of the next two videos right over here to keep watching. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you over in the next one. Go ahead, click one. I won't bite.